Today's topic given to me is the global challenges, security challenges to human security. I am asked to speak on the global perspective. First of all, let me focus a few minutes on what are the factors affecting human security and how they are affecting human security. Over the years, various factors like war, genocide, armed conflict, and international terrorism affected human security to various degrees. While the developed nations like the US, European nations, they could withstand the onslaught of this onslaught of the results which are coming out of the threats and able to resolve and recover, but the nations, underdeveloped nations and developing nations are not able to withstand this, and they are pushed further down in a vicious circle of the human security. As a result, if you see the outcomes of all these developments, they created a large number of refugees. They pushed a number of a particular sections of society below the poverty level and created a huge refugee crisis, and also deprived a number of people of their decent living all over the world. This in turn caused a food insecurity, water insecurity, energy insecurity. Besides, millions of people have been killed, particularly the civilians, including the women and children, in these conflicts, in this international terrorism. The physical injuries and psychological trauma they have to undergo, they have created a lot of personal and social security for the people who are living in these areas. As I said earlier, the international terrorism poses a serious threat today to the human security. Let me compare why the international terrorism poses greater threat when compared to the other factors like war, genocide, and armed conflict. How international terrorism differs from other forms of threats. First is the spread part of it. Spread in terms of terror far and wide. If you take the conventional wars, or for that matter to some extent armed conflicts, the effect of the negative aspects of these incidents are felt by the people who are participating, who are parties to the conflict, or the people who are present in the vicinity of those incidents. Whereas in the international terrorism, the negative effects are spread far and wide, not only in the place of the incident, but in a wider area of the entire world. Take the example of 9/11 World Trade Center incident. It's not only the people of New York, it's not only the people of US who have got affected, but every corner of the world who are watching on their TV screens the incident, they get a psychological fear and sense of insecurity in their minds. Like that, the international terrorism could have a spread much beyond the place of occurrence. And another aspect I can think of is indiscriminate use of force. If you see the armed conflicts, or for the matter wars, there are certain restrictions, there is always a rules of engagement, and there are certain norms to be followed by the parties concerned to the war or the armed conflict. Like, they normally don't target a civilian population in a war or the armed conflict, and they avoid targeting educational institutions, they avoid targeting religious worship, places of worship. Whereas these norms, these kind of the rules of engagement you don't see in international terrorism. There are only some people giving and the others are receiving. Take the example of Taliban in Afghanistan, or for that matter Al-Qaeda, who is operating in the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the Islamic State, also called Islamic ISIL, Islamic State in Iraq and Levant, and ISIS, that is Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, they occupy a particular area and they don't follow any norms, they don't follow any rules of engagement. What they do is only use a brutal force, a mindless violence they indulge in, and create a terror in the minds of the people. They don't discriminate between the civilian population and the targeted people of their own enemies. In this process, they don't discriminate even the women and children.